Welcome to the Bloomberg Law Bankruptcy Review. I'm Lee Pacchia. Joining me now, as always, is Bloomberg News Editor-at-Large Bill Rochelle. Welcome, Bill.
Good day.
We have an awful lot to go through today. It was almost hard putting this one together just because there's so much happening in the bankruptcy news space.
Right.
Breaking today, big news, Chapter 9 filing. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania has entered the system. How do you think this is going to go?
Well, the easy answer is they're in the tank right now. Whether they can stay there is up for grabs. Chapter 9 is unlike Chapter 11. You know, once you go into Chapter 11, that's like Roach Motel. You never get out. But Chapter 9 is different. You can actually be tossed out of Chapter 9, and it's happened. Bridgeport, Connecticut, for instance, went into Chapter 9. The case was tossed because judge concluded they weren't entitled to file under Connecticut state law. And there are some of the same issues under Pennsylvania law for Harrisburg. The city is in, but this was a result of a 4-3 vote by the city council. And dig this, the city's attorney said that the proper procedures weren't used to bring on this vote. So therefore, right there, you've got a ground for conceivably trying to have the case dismissed. And then there are more than that. The Pennsylvania law requires that there be an immediate need for a bankruptcy filing. Well, here, that's at least doubtful. Yes, they're in default on more than $250 million worth of bonds, but no judgment is imminent. Nobody is imminently threatening to take away their tax revenues. So it may not be that they can prove there is an imminent danger to the public welfare. Number two, you also have to prove that there is no way you can get your problem solved without a bankruptcy filing. But as you know, if you've been following the news, the state came up with a deal that was perfectly acceptable to the lenders, the bondholders, but the city rejected it. So on that basis, you can also argue that they do have an alternative, and one which, by the way, is evidently preferred by the state. So this case is far from over, and whether it sticks in Chapter 9 is yet to be seen.
It's an interesting case. We've been following it for a while. About a year ago, we talked to the law firm Cravath, Swain & Moore. Paul Zumbro was advising the city on a pro bono basis. Are they involved in this filing at all?
Good point. Glad you mentioned it. Answer, no.
Really?
Yes, sirree. I thought that Cravath was going to be in here to use this basically as groundwork to show that when other municipalities go broke, they should use Cravath. But for reasons which remain to be established, Cravath, although they had advised the city before and had recommended settling out of court, is not involved in the Chapter 9 filing.
Do you think we're going to see more municipal filings?
Probably not.
Okay. We'll move on.
Not big ones.
All right, let's talk about Washington Mutual. My former employer, Judge Ray Lyons, bankruptcy judge in Trenton, has been appointed mediator in the Washington Mutual case. What is he going to be working on?
The impossible. He is charged with trying to bring peace to a case which seems to elude peace. There is going to be some $7 billion that is distributed the instant this company can implement its Chapter 11 plan. And everybody in their Aunt Martha is fighting over the details of everything because, you know, even 1% of $7 billion is one heck of a lot of money. And so, therefore, nothing goes unnoticed. Getting a global compromise is practically impossible, or not practically, it is impossible so far. And poor old Judge Lyons, your former boss, is charged with doing something which may be more than any human being can accomplish.
Well, he's a smart guy. I'm sure he's going to be up to the task. Let's close out with looking at the Solyndra case. Interesting news coming out today. They removed their CEO. The question is, does this preempt the U.S. trustee or Department of Justice from putting a Chapter 11 trustee or an examiner in that case?
Well, you make a very good point. The Justice Department, through the U.S. trustee, 1 week after the two top company officers took the Fifth Amendment in Congress, made a motion for a trustee. And that sort of makes sense. I mean, if company officers are afraid that testimony they give Congress could be used in a prosecution against them, well, then maybe you ought to have a trustee. What often happens in these situations where there are allegations of fraud, the company simply removes the offending executives. I'm not insinuating that the existing officers did anything bad, but nonetheless, the CEO has left, and they have brought in a chief restructuring officer who is a chap who is very familiar with handling fraud cases. What I see really interesting about this, Lee, is that it puts the bankruptcy judge between a rock and a hard place. Ordinarily, if you toss out the head officer in a fraud allegation, you can fend off a trustee. But there's something else happening right now in a different agenda that's really very important. First off, we got to keep in mind that Solyndra is being a political football in President Obama's reelection campaign. And there is a bill pending in Congress right now which would essentially terminate the Delaware court from being the principal bankruptcy court in America. They have a number of judges there now, but if this bill were to pass, everybody would have to file in their hometowns. And most of the Delaware judges, I think, would end up losing their jobs. So as it is right now, if the Delaware judge decides not to follow the government's advice and not have a trustee, I wonder if that's going to annoy enough people in Congress and the Senate so that they look more favorably on this bill, which will basically end the bankruptcy business in Delaware.
Interesting point. We're going to have to see how this goes. Solyndra just keeps getting more and more interesting as the days go by. Bill, thanks for that. That's Bloomberg News columnist Bill Rochelle. If you'd like to learn more about the bankruptcy cases or issues we just discussed, go check out the Bloomberg Law Bankruptcy Report. It's available on BloombergLaw.com and also the Bloomberg Terminal. I'm Pacchia. Thanks for watching.